Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Today we're going to be going over a new discovery of a prosauropod from the early Jurassic, as well as, I believe, a certain species of four-legged snake from the early Cretaceous. But we will also be introducing several different species of dinosaurs along with it, so it will not feel empty with just a small little reptile. And we'll also be going over what's occurring with elephants over in Nigeria. So, um, let's head back to the Mesozoic. So, from Sci News, Cretaceous. Oh, okay. We're going to start out a bit later in time. Cretaceous four limbed snake turns out to be long bodied lizard. So, the origin of snakes remains one of the most contentious evolutionary transitions in vertebrate evolution. The discovery of snake fossils with well formed hind limbs provided new insights into the phylogenetic and ecological origin of snakes. In 2015, Tetrapodophis amplectus, a unique creature that lived 110 million years ago, or the early Cretaceous epoch, in what is now Brazil, was described as the first known snake with four and hind limbs. New research shows that Tetrapodophis amplectus is instead a long-bodied dolichosaurid lizard. Well, that's a major transition in the reptile lineage. So it says I don't believe an archosaur. It seems to be just simply another member of Reptiliae. Now, I don't know specifically what major lineage, and I'm not too familiar with the Dolichosaurids. Now, let's scroll down a little bit, see what on earth we're looking at. Well, that is quite strange. Um, wow. So it's an aquatic creature, or at least semi-aquatic, and probably going after smaller insects in the area. I wonder if it's only like a few inches in length. But it is interesting that this animal was existing during the later periods of the dinosaurs.
I thought for a second those were legs coming off of it and realized it was part of the plant.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering, like, where specifically was
Oh,
this
it does
found?
have legs.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it has both hind and forelimbs, which is interesting. There are a wide variety of different species of lizards that do, well, snake-like lizards do have four legs. Um, Usually, though, in many cases, I'm a bit more familiar with the terrestrial species, not so much the aquatic. So this is quite interesting.
Those are tiny legs.
Yeah, really wondering what they would be used for, considering it's almost like compared to their body size, they're as small as like the hind limbs of the extinct whale, the Basilosaurus, or the Basilosaurids in general. But they wouldn't appear until somewhere around 35 to 38 million years ago during the late Eocene epoch.
Uh, Jared Guerra said amphibious-like reptile. Oh, amphibious. No, it's amphibious.
Might be what he's trying to refer to, or what he's trying to describe. Um, though with the Amphius, it's not hitting me,
No, he
but
didn't say it's not amphibious. It's amphiemma.
amphibiema. I'm just not simply familiar with this group of reptiles.
Uh, amphiamas.
Did you like look it up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Has it been around before the Cretaceous period, or does it just not say?
Didn't say anything about it. Hold on. Amphiamas is a genus of aquatic salamanders.
Oh, well, this is a lizard, but interesting. Okay, I might take a look at them. Just see also how far back they date.
So he said, look up two-toed amphiemma.
Do they exist today?
Hold on. He's still typing. No, they're extinct amphibians. Amphiamas. Amphibians. I keep thinking he's trying to go for the other word. Hold on. Two-toed. Give me a second. Two-toed amphiamas is an aquatic salamander widely distributed in southeastern United States.
I might have seen these a little way back, but it's interesting. It's very similar to that species of Dolichosaurid lizard. Wow. He definitely looks like he would be a very um, good pet. But no, I still want him roaming out in different regions of where. So it's here in the like parts of maybe Alabama or Mississippi. That's a really good looking amphibian. Very distinct from like different salamanders in different parts of the world. I mean, there's salamanders over in the southeastern United States too. Um,
Wait, Mystic Mountain Morphs just got in and said, "Say what now?" Said there are 2 and 3 toad.
well, we were able to see it a bit better on
Can't
the
see the
other
toes.
picture. Well, the other picture, I think we could see at least two of the front toes.
Hold on. I still can't see it.
Yeah, it's right there. Gosh, that makes a T Rex arm look immense compared to its body size. This is tiny. But it's like, why? Why in evolution did the body decide to retain these specific limbs? Um, Same thing for like the basilosaurs and their tiny hind flippers. Trying to think of what else today. I mean,
Uh,
you could even say with the dinosaurs and the bellysaurs and their small forearms. What?
Mystic Mountain Morph said they can lose their legs after time depending on how much they spent time they spend on land.
Oh,
Wait, do they lose them based on land or based on water?
that's strange. Still, I wonder why. Too much trauma? But they're so tiny, I'm really wondering what they would be used for. They still look like they're very capable of using them, but I would assume these arms, unless they're as strong as like certain species of ants, but even then,
Okay, Jared Waterdev
mm,
said,
probably
"Oh, Okefeniko down the Cape of Florida. It's probably near really finished, reduced over time." What? It's probably never really finished, reduced over time. I don't understand.
good.
Are they talking about losing their legs?
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
And then Mystic Mountain Morphs came in and said some salamanders can become fully aquatic and grow gills if they spend more time in the water and vice versa.
Um, Yeah, you know what? I might bring up these amphibians a little bit later on, but also see like what other species we possibly found from the Mesozoic. Especially, I think what's this is reminding me of is the other temnospondyls, which we could find back in the Permian as well as the Carboniferous, technically the late Devonian, and into the um, majority of the Mesozoic, but by 135 million years ago, with Coolosuchus over in Australia, they seem to have disappeared.
And then, hold on, Jared says, Oki Fenoki, I'm writing too fast.
Okay. Let's head over to a dinosaur. Um,
Dinosaur?
huh?
A dinosaur?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
We need something to accompany these guys.
okay.
Siamosaurus. Siamosaurus. I forgot. Where was this found again? 107, 110 million years ago in. Well, we need to go back. This is just the painting. Brazil. Okay. So the animal I'm referring to exists in the complete opposite part of the world, over in Thailand. So here we have one of the largest species of Spinosaurus to exist over in Thailand. Somewhere, however, around 130 million years ago. Actually, that might be a bit early. This is towards like the later Aptian stage. So this is pushing probably between 120 to 115 million years ago. So this animal probably reached somewhere around 25 to 30 feet in length. We're pushing somewhere between 7.6 to 9 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 2.5 to 4 tons. So Um, I don't believe it came into contact with the Sigillomosaurus in the region, but that animal has also, I believe, been discovered over in nearby Laos, as well as possibly Cambodia.
Okay, how did AI make this?
This seems to be more on the lines of like irritator, possibly even ichthyoneator to an extent, but the arms remind you of like a baryonyx, possibly a suchomimus to an extent. But yeah, I'd say more of baryonyx, but it's still very distinct from the other animals. Yeah, I mean, I do like the overall morphology of Siamosaurus. It's like somebody took suchomimus and decided to further exaggerate it or make it um, very narrow, especially when it comes to the skull structure, much more than Suchomimus in some instances. Also, it does have an elongated back vertebrae, not as much to the extent of Suchomimus, but it is close. Suchomimus tends to have a bit more of a heightened sort of a back vertebrae compared to the tail. Well, did I confuse it with Sigillomosaurus possibly existing towards the later reign of Siamosaurus? It certainly is possible because that would be Sigillomosaurus if this is the case
Yeah, but it
in the
says
front.
versus Albertosaurus. That's an Albertosaurus?
No, Albertosaurus won't evolve for another 40 million years. So, and also over in Canada. But Sigillomosaurus would possibly be the one in the front. It's still quite off when it comes to the overall morphology of the animal, but that's probably an older depiction. And that would be the Siamosaurus in the background. Siamosaurus did have slightly smaller arms compared to its body size than compared to the larger Sigillomosaurus spinosaur.
Oh, gonna break in. Mystic Mountain Morph said most snakes will have remnants of legs in the form of 2 claws on either side of their cloacal vent.
Cloacal, I think.
Like many of my pythons, it's more prominent.
Oh, Mystic Mountain. Hey, I didn't realize it was you because I'm like, wait a second. You have quite a bit of knowledge of reptiles. You sound familiar. Okay, there we go. All right, good to see you, Archosaur. Um, well, I guess hear from you too. So let's see. Um, and thanks for the reminder. Okay, so let's see. Let's head back to the article. I'll probably bring up, or I am going to bring up more dinosaurs, but I ran out for Siamosaurus at least at the moment. So it has long been understood that snakes are members of a lineage of four-legged vertebrates that, as a result of evolutionary specializations, lost their limbs, said Professor Michael Codwell, a paleontologist in the Department of Biological Sciences and the Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the University of Alberta. Somewhere in the fossil record of ancient snakes is an ancestral form that still had four legs. It has thus long been predicted that a snake with four legs would be found as a fossil. I actually thought we already found a fossil of some species of at least snake-like lizard with four legs.
Semesta 27 said hi.
Hello, fellow sauropod, or Diplodocus. So, in the new study, Professor Codwell and colleagues revealed a number of mischaracterizations of the anatomy and morphology of Tetrapodopus and Plectus, traits that initially seemed to be shared most closely with snakes, suggesting this might be the long sought after snake with four legs. There are many evolutionary questions that could be answered by finding a four legged snake fossil, but only if it is the real deal. So the major conclusion of our team is that Tetrapodopus amplectus is not in fact a snake and was misclassified. Rather, all aspects of its anatomy are consistent with the anatomy observed in a group of extinct marine lizards. Okay. So that's I'm guessing this animal was found in a marine deposit and over in Brazil, which is definitely not uncommon for the early Cretaceous. This is also why we find different species of spinosaur in the region. They're probably somewhat preying along the coasts and as well different floodplains, especially spinosaurs such as Irritator from the Cretaceous period known as Dolichosaurs. Um,
Jared said, sorry, most of those are skink like Lepidosaurus that existed around 190 million to 60 million years ago.
oh. Well, I mean, that's a decent range for that group of reptiles. Interesting. 5 million years after 6 million years after the dinosaur extinction, and then they disappeared.
Wait, then
Um,
he said, just remember snakes are lizards, genetically speaking. I thought they weren't.
I believe they did evolve from some type of lizard, but I think I was just putting them in their own distinct branch because technically we all evolved from because technically they're fish to a further extent.
And then Mystic Morse said snakes are very different, though.
Yeah, they have a very distinct morphology. At the moment, I can't go too far into snakes. At least another time, especially if I bring up Titanoboa, so the large snake from the Paleocene and Eocene epoch of South America, especially Colombia, possibly even Venezuela, which is a snake that could reach over 45 to 50 feet in length, or pushing somewhere around 14 to 15.5 meters.
I thought you didn't
And
study snakes.
yeah, I don't necessarily specialize in them. Really, like certain species that's really just going over the basics, but further in depth, at least at the moment, I am lacking. Okay. So let's bring up another large species of dinosaur, or
And
well, this case, much larger.
and then Mystic Morph said there is a legless lizard, but are very different genetics wise. Yep.
Oh yeah, that guy. Well, I mean, I think there's certain other species, but yeah, it's very completely different branch of reptiles. Well, I need to go back over it. Okay, so Roangosaurus. So Rauangosaurus. Who's him? Did it bring up a large species of sauropod by chance?
It brought up a sauropod, but I definitely misspelled that. I got it.
Is it R
I
U
got it.
Y?
No,
Okay,
I misspelled it.
okay.
There. Now I got it right.
I mean, there have been different species of snake that have been discovered from the Mesozoic era. Cretaceous, depending on where you are, they can be a bit more common, especially Madagascar. There have been a number of species from there.
Okay, this is just funny.
Of course. Oh, it's a toy.
It's a toy. Yeah.
I actually thought it was a model at first.
I
I'm
just thought
like,
it was funny.
oh, well, actually, I thought maybe, I mean, it still wouldn't be bad, but even for a toy, I don't believe we have evidence for elongated, like nodosaur osteoderms on the Roangosaurus. So this is a species of sauropod. Yeah, they're showing up over here too. But we also saw this with different depictions of the late Cretaceous sauropod, the Alamosaurus, which that specific animal we do have preserved um, skin fragments showing that it had armored osteoderms around the core of its body, but not elongated spikes. And considering that that animal was a member of Titanosauridae, well, not just that, Titanosauridae, like the Strodiae and a member of the Saltosaur lineage, I mean, not Saltosaurs, but closely related. It's not surprising. This animal, however, is very far off in the sauropod family. It is simply a member of the macroninian lineage of sauropods. I don't believe it really has a distinct subfamily that, at least at the moment, we know that it belongs to, but it is from China. And the animal also inhabited the region around the same time as the larger Spinosaurs were inhabiting southeastern Asia, so Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and this animal could reach over 115 feet in length. They're pushing somewhere around 35 meters. This animal was one of the longest species of sauropod dinosaurs or terrestrial animals to exist. And however, Despite the length of it, it doesn't weigh very much. In fact, maybe pushing just over 35 tons. Not necessarily a light animal, but for its size, that is quite extraordinary. Now, you did have it where different species of diplodocid dinosaurs, such as Diplodocus itself, were somewhere around 90 feet in length or pushing somewhere around 25 to 30 meters and didn't weigh much more than 20 to 25 tons would be pushing it for a Diplodocus. That is immense. But this animal was likely feeding on different species of conifers and probably not feeding on ferns. I mean, unless it was growing up at the earlier stages, but later on, likely just feeding on different species of like relatives of trees, similar to the redwood, sequoias, over in northern China. Maybe even certain palms, taller cycads, possibly even ginkgos in the region. Now, it's showing pteranodons on top of it, and I don't think it's just some random species pteranodonted. These animals would not have coexisted with the Orangosaurus. Um, these animals, or these pterosaurs specifically, the pteranodontids have evolved, and there have been a wide variety of different species that have occurred in different parts of the world at this point, including Asia. But pteranodon is not going to appear in North America until somewhere around 80 to 82 million years ago. So it still has a long way until it evolves. Um,
Okay, Semesta 27 said, "Did you know that the ethnicity in Kalimantan Kalimantan no, Kalimantan, which is in Indonesia, I think, eats snake?" Well,
I mean, that's not surprising. I think over in some part of West Texas, I think it's like Sweetwater, there's an annual rattlesnake roundup, and they will also barbecue rattlesnakes, like the Western Diamondback rattlesnakes in the region. I'm not really into reptiles outside of alligator occasionally. I can't think of any other reptile. Maybe sometimes crocodiles does sound appetizing because, well, I've had alligators, so why not, crocodile? I'll leave the Garrels alone. I really don't have I don't seek them. They're also very rare, and they have their own malnourishment issues apparently when it comes to the breeding programs over in India, which to an extent is not surprising. But um yeah, I do find it pretty odd, but I don't know, it's just something about a snake. I mean, I understand we also get medicine from it too, but yeah, still interesting. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, I mean, I guess if there's more photos. Well, I mean, sometimes there aren't. So
it
wait a second. Was this also using the toy in this instance? It just turned it
looks
into a
like it, doesn't
drawing?
it?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
No, it's different.
It's
No,
pretty
it's the same
similar.
thing. Hold on, right there
I mean, if it's
and
drawing,
right there.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty good for a drawing. It's also very likely that these animals are probably have roamed in herds of as many as 30 individuals, possibly even more. I don't believe we have found any track sites of this specific species of sauropod. It is also hard to pinpoint when it comes to the track sites that we have discovered of long necked sauropods, what species they would have belonged to. But usually it's based off of certain species that are found in the similar time zone as those footprints.
Okay, this looks like the same thing.
It is, yeah. Um, Quite a barren area. I mean, these animals would have experienced wet and dry seasons, but likely would have just simply moved to areas with denser woodlands so they could feed on a wide variety of different conifers. I mean, we're talking about an animal that weighs over 35 tons. It's probably having to intake somewhere between 2 to 3,000 pounds of vegetation each day, or pushing somewhere around 1,000 to um, maybe 1,400 kilograms. Okay. I think his head is a bit odd, especially when it comes to his eyebrow or his eye socket region. And I'm saying that because it's not really a typical trait when it comes to sauropods.
Mystic Mountain Morph said, I used to go to the rattlesnake roundup in Kansas, but stopped and decided I loved them too much.
I didn't know there was a rattlesnake roundup over in Kansas, but I guess that's not too surprising considering some of the more arid regions within the state. So I wonder if like maybe Western Oklahoma probably does too. But yeah, I guess a lot of people are eating them. I don't know who started it. Um, Maybe it was just somebody that really an issue with the rattlesnakes, which I guess is not too surprising. Um, I guess to an extent, I don't mind the overall ecosystem, but I don't believe it was that mountainous. I believe it would be a lot flatter because these animals would have a really hard time, even if they could, getting around those mountains. There's no food, too. Maybe it's supposed to represent like the Great Valley. Okay, so let's head down. Wow, that is very much intact. Trying to find the skull, however. I think it's in that region. Yeah, I mean, that's very well preserved. And also, even when it comes to the hind limbs and the feet, they're very much intact. I think that might be the forelimb. That's very, I think it was pretty close to the head, too. And it did seem a bit smaller compared to the hind limbs, which, depending on the type of animal, is to be expected. Certain species have much longer forelimbs compared to their hind limbs. Some are pretty equal. This is more of like when we're looking at different species of hadrosaurs like Edmontosaurus or Parasaurolophus, and they have much shorter forelimbs compared to their hind limbs. Why in evolution this occurred is a huge mystery. A similar instance would have occurred with different species of stegosaurs, so much longer hind limbs compared to their forelimbs.
And Mystic Mountain Morphs. I thought bulgogi was usually beef.
Sounds like an Asian dish.
Well, it's Korean.
Oh,
But
I mean, they have snakes there too, unless.
no, but I thought it was just beef. But he says, don't eat dog or bulgogi.
No, yeah, of course not. No member of the canid lineage, the cat lineage, the mustelid lineage, and the primate lineage. And I'm probably missing and certain others, but yeah, that is.
Wait, does that make the marsupial saber tooth edible?
Oh, right. Okay. So we're gonna have to stick in certain many lineages of the marsupials onto there as well, including the Thylacolsmylids, which is what we're referring to. I don't know. Should we bring them up?
Oh,
That Thylacolsmilus.
oh. Oh.
I'll keep reading though. So the clues to this. Oh, you need me to spell them out. Thylacolsmilus. And the clues to this conclusion were hiding in the rock the fossil was extracted from. When the rock containing the specimen was split and it was discovered, the skeleton and skull ended up on opposite sides of the slab, with a natural mold preserving the shape of each on the opposite side. So the original study only described the skull and overlooked the natural mold, which preserves several features that make it clear that Tetrapodopus and Plectus did not have the skull of a snake, not even of a primitive one. Although Tetrapodopus and Plectus may not be the snake with four legs, it still has much to teach paleontologists. So, traveling forward in time to the Cenozoic era, this animal inhabited the Pliocene epoch around 3 million years ago, and it is a member of the marsupial lineage. So, this is Thylacolsmilus, and this animal is not closely related to the different species of saber-toothed cats that would have already existed at this point, as well as later on into the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, which wouldn't start until about 2.5 million years ago. And this animal was also quite small compared to its temporaries, probably reaching somewhere around 150 to 200 pounds at most, or pushing somewhere around maybe 70 to 90 kilograms.
I forgot. How did we end up on him?
Um,
Oh, we were talking about what not to eat.
Let's see. Oh, so yes, also like mm, most of the different species of the machaerodontid lineage of saber-toothed cats, these animals were marsupials that had a very elongated chin structure.
Um, Semesta said, "What about the opinion, the theory of evolution by natural selection proposed by Charles Darwin?" I think it's asking, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think in many cases that correlates with many of the different evolutionary processes or changes that have happened with different species of animals, and also in many cases it didn't take very long. I think for a while it's been recognized as taking millions of years for there to be simple changes occurring in species, and we've noticed where it can take just um, in some cases, a few months, depending on the animal. Like if it's a small enough organism. Also, if it happens to also breed with another type of a species, it's like its own type of evolution, but it's also a quick sort of a change. The question is, well, also, like, even when it comes to species, they're not breeding with other closely related species. There can be, depending on what changes have occurred in the environment, like whether it's the climate, ecologically, certain types of changes in the vegetation or animal prey species.
Wait, did he say that man came from apes?
No, I think he said that people came from monkeys, which was later disputed, and we came from a distinct lineage of ape, which apes are closely related to monkeys, but we did not come from gorillas, chimps, orangutans, despite being closely related. Now, there is the saying that only like the strong survive, or it is not the strong or the smartest that survive, but those most adaptable to change. That is actually not from Darwin, though it tends to be associated from him or with him. It was actually from a later English naturalist, I believe. I forgot his name, but I believe it was like the 1910s or 1920s when he came up with this statement. And he was an admirer of Darwin, but he came up with that distinct quote. I think obtaining it from different parts of Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, but it's just certain things he admired from the book.
Real quick, John Doe over on the full page, full show said, "I went to see the impact." Wait, what? I went to see Impact, the end of the age of dinosaurs. It was pretty good. I don't know what
Trying
that
to,
is.
yeah, I'm not sure if I've heard of it. Is this like, is this a movie
Mm.
or a documentary? I know there was one that came out recently. I think it was also possibly done by the same creators of the original 1999 series Walking with Dinosaurs.
It says American Museum of Natural History, Impact, the end of the age of dinosaurs. Looks like an exhibit.
Oh, oh, it's a. I mean, that's good to hear too. I just was assuming it was a film.
Huh. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's an exhibit.
It's interesting that that's what it's called. I'm guessing that they were showing a wide variety of different species of dinosaur specimens from the late Cretaceous, or possibly many different periods. They were just talking about different smaller extinctions occurring throughout the Mesozoic, but that's just a guess.
Jared Gorder said, "We are greater apes that split almost 10 million years from ancestors that had split into but chimps and us."
Yeah, you could be possibly correct. I just haven't focused on specifically earlier species of ape and like leading on to different species of hominid. So
You don't even
I'm
do hominid, do you?
not really. I'm a bit blank in that area. Um, it's really just the other larger and just different families of animals within the region. Well, depending on wherever these hominids are, which is likely different parts of. Well, I mean, it could even have been North or South America at certain points, considering how warm it was during the Eocene and the Paleocene epoch between 35 to 66 million years ago, especially the Paleocene, so between 55 to 66 million years ago.
Semesta said, basically, I subscribed. You thanks to answer my question.
Well, thank you very much, fellow sauropod. And anybody else who also has questions about prehistoric to current animal life, please put it in the chat. So let's see. Also, when it came to this specific saber-tooth marsupial, so it is from South America. It had a very weak bite force, which is quite odd, but also interesting considering it is a similar characteristic that it shares with placental saber-tooths.
John Doe just said there's a video of the exhibit here on YouTube.
Um, oh, okay. Well, I guess afterwards I'll see what you're talking about because this is very mysterious. I literally thought it was like a film. Um, I will say that it is quite interesting considering like the Nimravid Machaerodontids, so a much larger group of predators, were they did also contain an enhanced chin. Now, it's very likely that this probably would have helped with concealing somewhat the canines because you would have had that exterior area of gum to help protect those specific teeth. Okay, so
I was trying to find a short thing on it. Everything's long.
that's strange. I
Well, there
would.
there is a short one, but the problem is the short one has wording all over it.
Oh, yeah, it's sometimes annoying. Okay, let's head back to what's going on in the Cretaceous. So I guess a bit further down. So one of the greatest challenges of studying Tetrapodophyst amplectus is that it is one of the smallest fossil squamates ever found, said Tyogo Simoes, a postdoctoral researcher in the Department of Organismic and Evolutionary Biology and Museum of Comparative Zoology at Harvard University. It is comparable to the smallest squamates alive today that also have reduced limbs. Squamates are what snakes belong to in the reptile family.
Wait a minute. I have to add this in because I'm not sure if he's referencing the exhibit or not. Says fun fact: we have dinosaurs in the early and late Jurassic, but it's a gap in the middle of the Jurassic.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too surprising. It's really unfortunate when that occurs. It's like they might have dinosaurs like um similar relatives to Monolophosaurus, not Monolophosaurus. That's mid Jurassic. Cryolophosaurus or Dilophosaurus. Um,
So you're saying he's referencing the exhibit?
yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Considering, yeah, then there's like all of a sudden late Jurassic. It's everybody's headed towards Allosaurus and Brachiosaurus, which is okay, but it's like the mid Jurassic's extremely important, and it really is a fascinating time. You have Megalosaurus evolving and Cetiosaurus. So yeah, it's quite annoying that that occurs with different exhibits and like even different species of pliosaurs that are evolving in the oceans, different species of long-necked plesiosaurs, the ichthyosaurs. So yeah, why skip the mid Jurassic? It's kind of like skipping the early mid Cretaceous, but you could even say like the late mid Cretaceous as well. Um, I guess the mid Triassic is also important. It's just they're much smaller archosauromorphs at that point. Like when it comes to like the pseudosuchians or the earlier species of like proto dinosaurs, like Ephigia, which somewhat resembles a prosauropod, but it's very distinct.
I'm trying to follow the conversation between Jared and Mystic Mountain Morphs, and I don't know if he's yeah he's talking to I think they're talking to each other. It's not even to you.
Okay. Let's head possibly back in time.
That's not it.
Okay, so from Sci News, early Jurassic herbivorous dinosaurs lived in age-segregated herds. Paleontologists have analyzed an exceptional fossil assemblage from the Laguna Colorada Formation in Patagonia, Argentina, that includes 193 million-year-old early Jurassic skeletal remains and eggs of the early sauropodomorph dinosaur Muskosaurus patagonicus, ranging from embryos to fully grown adults. So this is the animal that somebody was asking a couple of streams ago about when this animal existed. Also, what is it? So I might have confused it with like one of the earlier sauropods. This is um, a species of prosauropod from the first 10 million years of the Jurassic. So, it was also situated over in Argentina with a wide variety of other different species of prosauropods as well. Though we don't find a wide variety of different species of theropods at this point over in Argentina, as well as different species of prosauropods. So there are a couple of species that likely did roam the area. Okay, so it's just showing like the adults with their young in this instance. This is very likely. Muskosaurus is not a large species of prosauropod. It ranges like somewhere around 10 feet or pushing about 3 meters, and probably didn't weigh much more than maybe 3 to 400 pounds or a little over 150 kilograms, and was likely just feeding on different species of cycad in the region, different species of ferns, and maybe shorter conifers or larger species of shrubs. Same thing for even the youngsters. So people already knew that in the late Jurassic and Cretaceous, the large herbivore dinosaurs exhibited social behavior. They lived in herds and had nesting spots, said Dr. Jahander Ramazani, a researcher in the Department of Earth, Atmospheric and Planetary Sciences at MIT. So, yeah, I guess you could say that when it comes to prosauropods, there's a lot less conversation when it comes to how these animals would have collaborated with each other, or at least how they would have roamed in maybe smaller or larger herds during different times of the year, or practically the whole year entirely, like the different species of later sauropods after them in the late Jurassic, mid Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. So, but the question has always been, when was the earliest time for such herding behavior? Well, that's even a question for the sauropods in general. Dr. Ramazani and colleagues examined the fossilized skeletal remains of 80 individuals and over 100 eggs of Muskosaurus patagonicus from the Laguna Colorado Formation of southern Patagonia. Muskosaurus is one of the only species of non-sauropod, non um, like hadrosaur, sauropods, or possibly ceratopsians that we have discovered eggs of, and several different nesting sites within Argentina. So, such a preserved site was bound to provide us with a lot of information about how early dinosaurs lived, said Dr. Diego Pol, a paleontologist at Connecticut. Okay. Let's bring up another species of dinosaur. This one, however, is a bit smaller, but maybe somewhat familiar. Procompsognathus. Procompsogna. There we go.
Okay, this guy's funny looking. Hold on before I do that. Let me. There you go.
My question is that supposed to be like an idosaur or some odd species of crocodilian or crocodilomorph or pseudosuchian in the background? Because I have no idea what that is. Now, in front, it's still a bit off, especially the head structure. but I guess you could say the overall animal might be a bit too heavily built. This is the earlier ancestor to Compsognathus of the late Jurassic. However, this animal was also inhabiting Germany around 220 million years ago during the late Triassic. So, I would say in many instances, Compsognathus did not change very much in evolution. It was doing quite well. But this animal or this depiction is showing him with a rather robust leg structure, at least from the angle. Compsognathus from the late Jurassic, so about like 150 to 155 million years ago, has a very almost skinny sort of physique,
They look
much
like
like with what you see like the compies in the Lost World in Jurassic Park.
this looks like it came from a documentary.
Yeah, actually it does. Um, could be just another animator, but it's definitely a good-looking reconstruction. They even added feathers to the creature. No, despite Compsognathis's overall look, um,
Okay, how's
at
this?
least pro Compsognathus, it is not a Coelurosaur. This is one of the earliest members of Neotheropoda and probably did not come into contact with the different species of Herrerasaurs that formerly roamed different parts of Pangea during the earlier part of the late Triassic, at least in different areas of South America, Africa, even Europe, and over into likely different parts of North America. But Procompsognathus is probably not much more than 3 feet in length. They're pushing somewhere around a meter and probably didn't weigh much more than a couple of pounds or pushing about a kilogram.
Jared just said hi.
Hello, fellow ceratopsian.
I know he's
So let's see.
you're not being ignored.
Let's see. I mean, in this instance, it is showing it somewhat agile. Now,
Okay, I'm pulling some with feathers and some without feathers.
dragonfly on like stuck to the upper part of the jaw is a bit odd. Um, what about him?
I'm pulling some with feathers and then some without feathers.
Yeah, we don't have any evidence for this animal necessarily. I think having feathers, I think it is very possible. Also, given its small size, um, a lot of areas that this animal would lose heat from, but probably wasn't too much of a problem, especially when looking at like the shin or the ankle and toe part of these animals. This is not a bad reconstruction. Wow, of the Procompsognathus. Also, not necessarily immense forearms compared to its body size, which is odd when it comes to Procompsognathus and even its later descendant Compsognathus. Well, technically, we have found two different species of Compsognathus from the late Jurassic, one in Germany, one in France.
Sebastian 27 said, "Come visit one day, Komodo National Park in Indonesia. We have the largest species of lizard. We have the largest species of lizard." Yeah,
Yeah, they're always wreaking havoc over on the water buffalo. So, yeah, I mean, I like Megalania too.
it as bad as being in Puerto Rico where you run over the giant lizards crossing the road?
No, because wait. I don't think I would compare them really because the iguanas in the region, they're not native to Puerto Rico. They have reached some devastation on the habitats within the region. So running over one, it was unfortunate. I thought they were native to the region at first. And I'm like, oh no, and you feel like a dud as you're driving or you're riding the bus in the region. But so then you figure out, oh no, they're invasive. The problem is I would think that would cause certain issues for people's, tires, but besides that, um, I've never really been interested in, like, iguana pizza, which apparently that was a bit of a thing earlier, I think either this winter or the winter before when there was a massive, freeze over in Florida, kind of like what happened, like, back in the 1910s. Um,
So
and yeah, people started serving iguana pizza, which I think is a bit weird.
Semesta said, "We call them Komodo dragons." Well, yeah, but it was,
I don't recall the exact species of iguana, but
no, no, no. Talking about they're talking about Komodo dragons in Indonesia, where
yeah, yeah,
person's from
on
Indonesia.
the island of Komodo. Um, yeah, it seems to have a stable population. constantly getting into fights with each other. But back to like specifically, where were we? Okay, late Triassic. So yeah, about 220 million years ago, over in Germany, and yeah, they definitely give this animal a very like dromaeosaurid sort of a plumage to it. But there are also a wide variety of different species of theropods, even smaller species from the Triassic, like even Eodromius, Eoraptor, that were likely covered in feathers. They just don't have any preserved pigmo fibers, but due to their small size, and depending on where they were in the Triassic, and in some cases, if they were in certain cooler regions or maybe certain higher altitudes, they definitely would have needed this type of insulation. It might have helped them even distinguish each other. So let's head back. So such a preserved site was I already said that. Whoa. Well, here they are. Wow. Well, there's a wide variety. And there are the eggs. Was that an embryo? Wouldn't doubt it. Or it might just be an eggshell. I can't exactly tell.
That was my guess when I was looking at that. But why is there one here and all of these here?
It might just be showing different specimens from different parts of the fossil site. That's my guess. I mean, that is a pretty intact skull structure. Was that at the bottom jaw? And here are the growth stages. Yeah, he's still small at first. And then they become, in quote, behemoths. So about a little
Wait a minute.
over 10 feet.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to type it in. No, Jared Guerra said, zoom in on the pelvis real quick. Which pelvis?
Yeah, there's quite a variety. Is there one by
I
itself?
think you misspelled that. You said the punishment is bird-like.
Huh?
I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. Before that, Jared said, you're talking about the spiny tail and green iguana in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's what it is. Um, that might be the pelvis in this specific region. That's just a diagram.
But aren't most of them bird-like in their pelvis?
When it comes to the theropods and saurischians, technically no, which is odd considering um they are more closely related to the birds compared to the ceratopsians that have the bird hips. So it is quite odd. They have the theropods and sauropods, prosauropods have lizard hips or pelvises. Yeah, it's just colored in diagrams. Oh, I didn't realize there was the extra skull over here. Yeah, all these are pretty intact. Like the tooth structure too. Very immense eye sockets for these different species of prosauropods. So I would assume that they had a decent amount of vision. Probably good depth perception too.
That is black and white. Only part of it's black and white.
So I'm guessing here are the different growth rings. Probably showing a different age brackets.
Growth rings or sediment layers?
I think they're growth rings of just different aged muskosaurs. So the team dated ancient sediments among the fossils and determined that the herd of Mosaurus patagonicus dates back to around 193 million years ago, during the early Jurassic period. The results represent the earliest evidence of social herding among dinosaurs, about 40 million years earlier than other records of dinosaur herding. Is that true? 40 million years. That would be pushing it like to 153 million years ago. That's insane. That sounds a bit old. I mean, not old. Much of a gap.
Jared said Sirachian and theropod pelvis are pretty much reverse of each other.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is correct. It is odd as to why that happened to occur in the Archosaur evolution. Like, why did they decide to go just opposite ends? But also, why were they classified that way too? So, we've now observed and documented this earliest social behavior in dinosaurs. This raises the question now of whether living in a herd may have had a major role in dinosaurs' early evolutionary success. This gives us some clues to how dinosaurs evolved. Yeah, I think it would have had its own sort of slow evolutionary process when it came to like communication within the herd. Um, I don't think in many cases it would have changed too much, but we are talking about certain bipedal herbivores compared to the much larger quadrupeds. Now the question is when it came to the brains of these animals, like let's look up another species, the Colorodosaurus.
Hold on.
Basically, like because the brains were a bit bigger compared to their body size, than when comparing it to the larger sauropods, were they smarter?
Jared just said, "Bro, you guys are fast, and the text reaches you way too late." So I raced to text. And are you asking him to slow down on something?
Okay, so Coloradsaurus. Yeah, it's not him. But Colorodosaurus would have looked more of like a larger species of prosauropod, especially compared to Muskosaurus. Muskosaurus was on the smaller end for different species of sauropods, especially prosauropods, especially for the early Jurassic. But the early Jurassic also had a wide range of different species of prosauropods that didn't become very large. Massospondylus, Ankylosaurus, they're all around the 8 to 13-foot realm or pushing between 2.4 to maybe somewhere around 4 meters. This is not a bad representation of Colorodosaurus. It also existed much earlier into the Triassic of Argentina, around 215 million years ago. So pushing to the similar time span as the Procompsognathus, but Procompsognathus possibly existed a few million years earlier. This animal was also pushing somewhere around 26 feet in length. They're pushing around 8 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 2 to 3 tons. Also feeding on different species of horsetails or ferns that you tend to find in more wet environments. Not that you also don't find ferns in more humid areas too. But flowers, fruit, they have not evolved yet. It might have fed on different species of seeds, but it doesn't seem to have been a carnivore. Oh, so I guess it's based off of that. Um,
I don't know if it's based off of this or they just
yeah, I think it's based off the other drawing.
it just looks so laid back.
Yeah, they do. I think in many cases there were not too many predators they had to be concerned about, but depending on where you were back in the Triassic, especially with the different species of Rauisuchian, Pseudosuchian crocodilomorphs, they had to be quite concerned or on the alert because you had certain species that could reach somewhere between 25 to 30 feet in length or pushing somewhere around um 7.7 to over 9 meters and probably also weighing about the same amount as this distinct species of prosauropod, this Colorodosaurus, so also reaching maybe 2 to 3 tons, and also mostly terrestrial Rauisuchian crocodilomorphs at this point, so not really inhabiting the water. But the species that I'm thinking of probably didn't exist until a bit later into the Triassic, so pushing somewhere between 205 to 210 million years ago. You had smaller species for the most part existing at this point, but the Rauisuchians did make quite a jump in size when it came to their evolution. Also, it could be with Coloradosaurus. This animal might have been able to walk on all fours. So it was a somewhat bipedal, quadrupedal species of prosauropod back in the Triassic. I think also something that doesn't tend to pop up on different species of prosauropods is the osteoderms along the back of their neck, the core of their body, as well as like the pelvic region, as well as the caudal vertebrae of their tail. There doesn't seem to just simply be much evidence for these osteoderms occurring, like in later species of sauropods.
Yeah, yeah, Jared said sometimes you're just moving so fast, he's trying to get stuff in, but by the time he gets it in, you've shot way past it. By the time I relay it, you're even further past, so that's why I got lost in something he was saying.
Okay.
Like I said, I try not to cut you off, but sometimes he doesn't shut up.
Was
This
there something else? Well, I mean, like another
hold on. It
question.
says, "Look up avimit avimiteratelis." If I'm spelling it right. Hold on.
Is this another reptile?
I don't know what it is.
I mean, it
He
could
was
be
talking
anything.
about this, so
We've given certain Latin and Greek names to the same Latin and Greek names to different species of prehistoric mammals, dinosaurs, crocodilomorphs, pterosaurs.
Avimetatarasilia. It's a pterosaur. Hold on.
That was a bit surprising. Um,
Hold on.
if there are
This is the
pictures,
fastest one I just found.
well, from the angle, I'm guessing it's some species of well, if that's a
Hold on.
genus,
I'm
so
just
some
gonna
Asdarchid possibly,
hold on. Avimit
at least by the shape of the beak and the overall neck structure. Seems to be some relative to Tapejara, I think, in the background.
This looks totally different.
Okay, that's a Rampharinchid.
Yeah, that's but it's
I
it's
don't think that's him. So this would be back in the Jurassic. Rampharinchids did not make it past the late Jurassic, so pushing around 145 million years ago, they pretty much all went extinct.
trying to find something else that's
Actually, we'll give a minute to everybody else that has.
here.
Uh, oh, wait a second. Is this also a massive lineage of reptile? Because I was wondering. I'm like, it's possible this might be the
Oh, it
genus
says
name.
reptile. I didn't even read that.
Yeah, is this just a no? An illustration?
It says reptile.
I meant to. Uh, hold on a second. Okay, so I forgot about this clade. Possibly consists of most of the different lineages of Archosauridae. So, virtually including the different species of pterosaurs, different species of crocodilomorphs, the dinosaurs, earlier species of Archosaurs, like later representatives of Euparkeria, possibly Euparkeria itself too. So the ancestor to the dinosaurs, not Sauropterygians or the different species of marine reptiles in the ocean. So it's not its own distinct species of pterosaur.
But wait,
Um,
you're saying because semester 27 just said this is kind of a reptile, right? You said it's a lineage.
Yeah, it's virtually a massive clade of different lineages of archosaurs, including dinosaurs, pterosaurs, crocodilomorphs, um, possibly another lineage I'm leaving out, like the pseudosuchians. But yeah, I think what tends to happen occasionally is somebody might post like a picture of a certain type of an animal, and they might put up like a certain not genus name, but like a certain Greek or Latin name that actually links to a much larger clade of animals that consists of that specific creature. So it can be confusing sometimes.
And all the pterosaurs are reptiles, right? Or have they changed that again?
No, technically they are, but they're feathered. And in some cases ectothermic. I'm going to also have to check up on what's going on. It's a bit confusing with the pterosaurs at this point and how they're overall classified when it comes to um, their morphology and just being a very unique lineage of reptiles. They are very closely related to dinosaurs, however. But yeah, this is not necessarily Rhamphorhynchus itself. This seems to be another member of Rhamphorhynchidae. Looking at the jaw structure, it's not. Rhamphorhynchus would have several different teeth along the upper jaw as well as the bottom jaw. And the animal inhabited England around 160 million years ago. Are you looking up Rhamphorhynchus? Oh,
You're
R
talking about him, so
RH, or did he pop up? It was like a medium-sized species of pterosaur for its time. Okay, this animal has issues. Like, I don't mind the overall reconstruction of it, but it has that walking with dinosaurs elongated beak. The problem is, like, especially when it came to the Rhamphorhynchus in the 1999 series Walking with Dinosaurs, and the beak structure, especially towards the front, they gave it like an elongated piece of bone just sticking out of its flesh on both the upper and bottom jaw. That would not have been the case. I do think it was a very good like model overall, and same thing when it came to the former depiction. But, as you can see on this reconstruction, well, not reconstruction, this fossil, this is an authentic fossil of a Rhamphorhynchus. It does not have that type of a characteristic. It would just simply be the rest of its skull structure be covered, and it would be covered in tissue, skin.
okay, it's gonna be a little blurry, but this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that elongated bone, that is a big issue. The rest of the skull is completely fine. Maybe something a bit off about the nostril and where it's placed, but besides that, it's good. It's just that why they decided to add that distinct bony area is a huge mystery. Yes, this animal very likely hunted different species of smaller fish within the region, maybe even going after also different species of maybe shellfish in the region, but that might be a bit unlikely.
Wait, they
Um,
put this guy's labeled under Rhamphorhynchus.
Ammonites, that's what I meant to say. Possibly. No, that is another creature from Walking with Dinosaurs, the Agnerochnathus. However, reconstructions of it have definitely drastically changed, and these animals did not exist over in Colorado around 150 million years ago. They were over in Germany at around this time. So they did not coexist with Diplodocus. They also did not have the ability to perch on the sides of their backs and feed off of any smaller species of insects that happen to be like sucking the blood of Diplodocus. So like a different version of a mosquito, though there were likely mosquitoes back then. Agnerochnathus. There was another species, possibly Mesignathus, that would have coexisted with Diplodocus.
Is this any better?
Oh, for the Rhamphorhynchus, there do well, okay, did something pop up recently? Was it simply that it would have been covered an extra layer of keratin? Um, I might have to double check on that, but the teeth are huge in this instance. This is a very I mean, I like how they added a lot of feather just plumage, but This is a strange Rhamphorhynchus tooth structure. Something's off.
But wait, other Rhamphorhynchids.
That's okay. This is Agneurognathus. This is what he naturally looks like. So he would be more of just like a cute little pet.
How large
So
is he?
he probably didn't have a wingspan of much more than a foot, maybe, or slightly larger. These were very small pterosaurs back in the Jurassic, like even for the time. But this lineage of pterosaur would practically disappear along with the Rhamphorhynchids towards the end of the Jurassic, around 145 million years ago. They also likely wouldn't have perched on like smaller branches. They were likely just perching like either on the ground, also on all fours, larger logs or larger branches in general. I just meant like something like a twig. They probably also only weighed maybe a few ounces or pushing um of what couple hundred milliliters. Trying to figure out what it can. Oh,
Yep.
well, there's grams too. So maybe it was some around maybe 80 grams. I need to
You're
um
talking about the are you asking about the fossil of the Rhamphorhynchid, Jared? Yes, where the,
100, like maybe 113 grams.
said where was the fossil from?
And Neurognathus oh wait, the
No, I'm
Rhamphorhynchus?
assuming the Rhamphor I didn't pull up a fossil of hold on.
This animal possibly we might have found one over in North America too, but they also come from Europe or also especially from England. So they likely coexisted with the Liopleurodon in the region. So the 25 to 28-foot long species of marine reptile in the region, or pushing somewhere around 8 to 8.8 meters. And probably it also maybe weighed a couple of pounds at most. That'd be probably a quite a heavy Rhamphorhynchus, or pushing around a kilogram.
The majority of them are found in Bavaria, Southern Germany.
Oh yeah, especially over in Germany and the different marine deposits. So this is, somewhere between 150 to 160 million years ago, where we had these smaller Rhamphorhynchids occurring. Technically, this would be average size for a Rhamphorhynchid. I was just referring to the species of pterosaurs in general.
But wait,
Even
where have they been found?
mostly like England, southern Germany, possibly even Switzerland to an extent. Though I could be confusing that with certain other pterosaur species also coming in from Jurassic Belgium, because we do have it where there's a wide variety of different marine deposits over in Switzerland, France, Germany, Belgium, even the Netherlands to an extent, where we do find.
Oh, he was asking about this.
Oh, him. Like we do have preserved skeletons of animals like Ignurognathus. Also from Germany. So a very roundish skull compared to what was reconstructed for Walking with Dinosaurs. For the time, it was okay, but now this is the more accurate sort of a specimen.
Is
Very
everyone
large,
is everyone watching this on their phone?
very large eyes compared to their body size too. In fact, I think it has even been theorized that these animals might have been nocturnal, so feeding for insects after dark, like certain species of bats. But I'm not sure if we've come up with a theory of whether or not these animals might have used echolocation. Here, I'll go back to the article. So back to the must source. The authors suspect that two other types of dinosaurs, early dinosaurs, Massospondylus from South Africa, um, a slightly more renowned species of prosauropod, and Lufengosaurus from China, Another species of prosauropod, even larger, also lived in herds around the same time. If multiple separate lines of dinosaurs lived in herds, they believe the social behavior may have evolved earlier, perhaps as far back as their common ancestor in the late Triassic epoch, shortly before an extinction event wiped out many other animals. Yeah, that was about 201 million years ago when that occurred. Certain species of pseudosuchians or the crocodilomorphs like the rauisuchians would die out. Different species of protomammals like the dicynodonts and even certain lineages of dinosaurs would not make it into the later early Jurassic. But for the most part, many lineages of dinosaurs would make it, especially like Neotheropoda, the prosauropods. But you also had it where right at that moment is when explosion of the later Eutherians would evolve, and as well the what was the other lineage? I guess I forgot at the moment. Basically, what would become the different species of ankylosauromorphs, stegosaurs, um, the nodosaurs, and the ornithopods, the ornithischians. If multiple separate lines of dinosaurs lived in herds, they believe the social behavior may have evolved earlier, perhaps as far back as their common ancestor in the late Triassic epoch, shortly before an extinction event wiped out many other animals. Now we know herding was going on 193 million years ago. This is the earliest confirmed evidence of gregarious behavior in dinosaurs, but paleontological understanding says if you find social behavior in this type of dinosaur at this time, it must have originated earlier. Well, I would have expected the different species of prosauropods back in the Triassic 230 million years ago would also have been roaming in herds. And that's really how I've always depicted them. But this is just true evidence for them existing in herds. Many instances or depictions of plateosaurs or other prosauropods from the Triassic, often depicting them as roaming in herds. In some cases, showing different age structures in the herd too. So, kind of like with what we saw in the Mosasaurus depiction. Also, if anyone else has other questions about prehistoric or current animals, please put it in the chat. Unless we want to bring up another dinosaur, like maybe bringing up a ceratopsian.
Okay.
Okay, Xenoceratops. So Xenoceratops. This would be fast forwarding into the Mesozoic era or approaching the late, well, it would be the late Cretaceous. And probably somewhere around the last 14 to 15 million years of the Cretaceous in general. This would be over in Alberta, Canada, around 80 million years ago. And this is a species of centrosaur ceratopsid from the late Cretaceous of this country. This animal, I believe, was found in the Horseshoe Canyon Formation of Alberta and likely coexisted with other different species of centrosaurs and chasmosaur ceratopsids from the region, and as well as certain animals that would have existed over in Montana to the south, and probably also different species of ornithomimids or the ostrich-like dinosaurs from the Cretaceous.
This is a great sketch or drawing.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty good representation of Xenoceratops. So as you can see, there are many differences between this animal and certain more renowned species like Styracosaurus, but especially Triceratops.
Okay, why do I feel like I'm looking at a hippo?
Yeah, sort of. It's very likely that dinosaurs like Xenoceratops, but even just ceratopsians, sauropods in general, even the theropods would probably have wallowed in the mud during certain hotter periods. And also to possibly protect themselves from biting insects.
Jared asks, have you seen the latest study of turtle origins?
No, I have not. I did see something pop up with Megalodon recently, but I can't go too much into that at the moment.
Wait, what did you say turtle origins are?
Well, when it comes to modern day turtles, it seems to be that their closest relatives were popping up like during the Cretaceous, so a little over 100 million years ago. But I can't say too much about direct, like modern turtle evolution. Then there were the earlier distant relatives of turtles that you would see like back in the Jurassic and the Triassic periods of the early Sauropterygians. But even when it comes to them, I haven't put too much research into them.
But did turtles come from archosaurs?
No.
Oh,
They came from another lineage of Reptiliae. So, oh, yeah, this is also a really good reconstruction of this Centrosaur Xenoceratops in like a open conifer woodland. So it was a medium-sized species, even for the centrosaurs themselves. It wasn't very large, but for the time, it was a decent size, pushing somewhere around 18 to 20 feet in length, or around 5 to 6 meters, and probably weighed somewhere around 1.5 to 2 tons. And so for a centrosaur, it's probably around medium size. There were different species that were around this weight and length as well. But as you can tell, its horns are somewhat pointed towards the ground, like depending on the way the paleoartist is having its neck situated. And this is not really something that you see in certain other species of chasmosaurs like Triceratops, at least depending on the growth stage. But also, different species of Pachyrhinosaur, not Pachyrhinosaur, Centrosaurs in general, did not have these types of horns. Now, when it comes to the snout horn, so just before the nose, that is very peculiar depending on the species of ceratopsian that we're referring to. So this is not necessarily uncommon. And in some cases, it literally becomes a dome on certain species like Pachyrhinosaurus. They're the different species of Pachyrhinosaurus. Also, when it comes to the elongated horns on the tip of its frill, that you can somewhat find on certain species of centrosaurs, but I would say it's quite large on Xenoceratops itself. So, this animal did also coexist with different species of Tyrannosaur in the region, such as well, actually, when it comes to the tyrannosaurs at this point, it might be a bit of a mystery. At least it's not hitting me at the moment who it could be, considering this is before animals like Albertosaurus would evolve.
I just like this is CGI.
Yeah, it's
Somebody made this.
yeah, it's not a bad model. I think the nasal horn. Well, I guess depending on the Xenoceratops, it really isn't bad. Um, though the legs might be a bit long. But certain, centrosaurs did have somewhat matching leg structures compared to even certain members of the Chasmosaur lineage
Yeah.
of ceratopsians.
Semesta said it looks like a rhino, but different species. I think I think she's looking at the other picture. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Yeah, I would say these legs are far too,
Hold on.
it has too athletic of a build
This one.
for a
I think
rhino.
she's referencing
Oh,
that.
yeah, this has a very, rhino behavior, like, just overall feel to it. He's just trying to cool down and protect himself against the insects. Maybe and somewhat camouflage himself from any nearby carnivores that are probably roaming the nearby wallow.
Oh wait, this is good. Hold on.
Or it's just the dry season. He's trying to wait it out a bit. Well, this is definitely different. They've definitely added a bit of a like distinct sort of horn like symmetry on this specific individual. Considering like the top horns in the middle seem a bit short, but you could have had it where maybe with the females there might have been some dimorphism when it came to the overall characteristics of the frill. Also, when it comes to the little side horns, which are important to take into account, they are smaller compared to its frill size, and also when comparing it to other species of centrosaurs and chasmosaurs, it does have that distinct downward facing side horn on the side of its face, and it would also be on the other side as well. This is a very peculiar ceratopsian trait in general. It even exists or is present further back in evolution when it comes to different species of smaller ceratopsians like the Chinese Cetacosaurus. However, certain other earlier species did not contain that distinctive horn. They were quite bare when it came to horn characteristics in general. They did not have a frill, they did not have a distinct nasal horn, they definitely did not have large or even smaller eye socket horns. Um, and in many cases, they were bipedal, whereas Xenoceratops might have reared up on its hind legs because it wanted to munch on certain higher conifer branches or shrubs. But for the most part, it's probably feeding on different species of ferns and flowers and low lying shrubs.
I just had Sumatra 27 completely disappear from everything.
Hmm.
Like, just matter of fact, everybody's gone. Only John. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that was my fault. Sorry. I don't know how I did that.
The horns, though, in this case, seem a little similar, or a bit more similar to different species of chasmosaurs in some instances. Like even animals like the later Torosaurs. But, Torosaurus also just overall had a well, first of all, much longer frill compared to its body size, and, also somewhat longer horns, and also a distinct nasal horn as well. Technically, it does have a nasal horn, but it's very depressed, at least when it comes to the height. The beak of this animal, however, when comparing it to certain other ceratopsians, is somewhat short. I would say it's not very long compared to its body size or the overall skull in general. There might be also a bit of bone blocking its eye sockets, but I would need to take a look at a Xenoceratops skull to confirm that. Um,
I
okay.
just accidentally posted a comment and just left the comment there. I didn't realize I had done it until just now.
I guess we here. Let's go on to the final article.
That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll end it there with the Lake Cretaceous of Alberta. Okay, so or if anybody else has any other questions on prehistoric to current animal life, we'll just give it about 15 to give it about 20 seconds. So put it in the chat.
Hold on. I'm confused. What are you asking? Semesta. You're asking if it's a dinosaur or if they had close families? No, I did that. Wait, what? Okay. I don't know. She said close family dino, right? It is a dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Xenoceratops is a species of Centrosaur ceratopsid ceratopsian from the late Cretaceous of Alberta about 80 million years ago.
Maybe if she's asking if they're moving in herds.
Oh, well, definitely. We have evidence from different species of Centrosaurs, especially Pachyrhinosaurus from Alberta. It looks like a massive flood took thousands of individuals out at once. Now, we don't necessarily have fully intact specimens of all of the several thousand, but it definitely seems to be several conjoined individuals at once, at least when these animals were buried under sediment. So during this flash flood, and if Pachyrhinosaurus was moving in herds, it's very possible that other species were too. But you do have it where certain species of herbivores and different species of carnivores, despite being members of, in some cases, even the same genus, different species of that genus can be solitary and some can be social, especially when you look at like black rhinos and white rhinos over in Africa, or even the different species of rhinos over in Asia. The white rhino seems to be the most social. However, black rhinos, for the most part, outside the rut, are quite solitary. Also, when you're looking at greater one horn rhinos, in many cases, they tend to be solitary, and Sumatran and Javan rhinos as well. Sumatran rhinos actually might be a bit more social, judging by the camera traps that have been put out in certain clay pits or mineral wallows they go over to. So with Xenoceratops, even with this animal, it's very possible it was a social creature. I mean, this seems to be the case with a wide variety of different species of ceratopsians. Looks like Triceratops was probably social, considering also just simply the amount of individuals we have found at Triceratops, well over um, 200 different specimens of Triceratops have been discovered. And just Triceratops hortus, not even including Triceratops porsus, the later species. Xenoceratops, we have only found, I believe, at least a single specimen that I'm familiar with, but I'm going to have to do a further dive in to see if we have found more individuals of this species. Considering with different species of centrosaurs, chasmosaurs from Alberta, we tend to find at least a handful of individuals. They likely did take care of their young from the very beginning. Or at least, now here's the thing when it comes to the youngsters leaving the nest, they're still staying with the adults, but they're likely feeding on different types of plant material, especially going after species of ferns or flowers that are higher in protein at that point. At least when it comes to the hadrosaurs, it seems to be the case. Okay, thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Happy International Xenoceratops Day. And remember that nothing is better than all animals all the time.